Welcome back to Mirror at 1 p.m. Now, the probe into the high-profile Pune Porsche case is now shifting towards the Juvenile Justice Board, which had bailed out a drunk driver who had killed down two people. Remember, it all hit the headlines after one of those infamous clauses that came out for his interim bail, one was involving writing a 300-word essay. Now, trouble is likely to mount for the JJB member Dr. Ellen Danwade, who had reportedly asked the accused to write this 300-word essay on road safety as one of the bail conditions. Later, Dr. Danwade, who is a non-judicial member of the Juvenile Board, was also criticized for riding a two-wheeler without a helmet. And now, as trouble is set to mount, a 125-page report by Maharashtra's Women and Child Development highlights serious lapses in the JJB judgment. The report further highlights how laws were overlooked and medical reports were ignored. Additional charges by Pune Police too were left unobserved, and amid the accusations, the JJB members under question now may even face suspension.
Notice is only for the non-judicial members?
It is for the non-judicial members.
So are we expecting their termination because there has been some discrepancies which have been found at the order which were given were unlawful and unprofessional?
No comments on that. We'll see.
So do you think their suspension would be taking place, and after this your report will be submitted to High Court?
Let us see how things unfold.
At prima facie, do you agree that there has been unlawful activities or some documentation were overlooked by the JJB members?
No comments. No.
So do you think the suspension will be taking place after this report?
Let us see. Let us see. We'll submit the report to government.
Sir, any points you can mention, since it is a 125-page, any discrepancy that you find out?
Not now. We cannot discuss now that issue.
So was this just goof-ups on behalf of the Juvenile Justice Board, or was this part of the massive cover-up conspiracy that we have seen in the aftermath of this horrific incident here? Let's put out a list of the lapses that we have uncovered from our sources in the Times Network who have spoken to the probe panel. In lapse number 1, there was no roster in place to specify the presence of which JJB member will be working during the weekend. Remember, according to the law, there's supposed to be a roster which specifies on Saturdays and Sundays which member of the regular panel is working. There was no roster in place at this point. Lapse number 2, that there was only one non-judicial member who was present on the day this order was passed. That is, of course, Dr. Danwade, who is under criticism and scrutiny himself. Lapse number 3. The JJB board member, Dr. Danwade in this case, overlooked all medical reports of the juvenile, not just the blood test reports which indicated he was driving under the influence, and as a result there was prima facie a stronger section of section 304 of the IPC, which is culpable homicide, also applicable in this case. Lapse number 4. This controversial order was approved on Monday in the presence of all members. So if you think that it was just Dr. Danwade who was at fault here, it's not the case. The entire JJB members ratified that controversial bail order on Monday, which brings into account that almost the entire Juvenile Justice Board should be held accountable for allowing this heinous case to go unpunished with just a 300-word essay. The final lapse, and this is quite damning here, the report by the Women and Child Development Ministry of Maharashtra says that the Juvenile Justice Board lacked basic and professional approach while in its involvement in the case at this point. So what exactly was the Juvenile Justice Board thinking when they came up with a 300-word essay as a punitive step here? Now, what sources from the probe panel have told us that this is a normal reformative step, writing an essay on road safety. However, it is taken when a minor accused in a case like this is sent for observation. It is not used as a punitive measure on the day when the minor is produced in court, when there is a bail hearing going on. As a result, the probe panel says that there was serious negligence and unlawful approach by the JJB in prescribing this step, and as a result, this is what probe panel sources have told Times Network. To discuss this and more, let me go across to my esteemed guest who's joining us at this point, Arvind Kumar Jain, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, and Aditya Pratap, a noted advocate. are joining me at this point. Arvind Kumar Jain, sir, I'll come to you first. You have seen, as a former DGP of the state of Uttar Pradesh, you have seen the law at work at close quarters. Where is this not a systemic rot which involves the entire Juvenile Justice Board? And I'm not just looking at the JJB at work in Pune. God only knows how many of these lapses continue to happen in juvenile justice boards across the country, and how many rich brats get away with just a slap on the wrist because of these loopholes, or at least which allow the subjective reasoning of a juvenile justice board member to override evidence, and very glaring evidence at that.
First of all, I must congratulate your channel for taking it up, because this is happening every day in our country. People who have money, who belong to very influential and rich families, they get away very lightly. But in this case, because there was a media trial, because there was at national level, there was an outcry over this judgment of JJB. So that's why preventive measures are now being taken. Action is being taken against the family, against the parents of the rich brat. So there should be debate, and political appointees should not be placed in JJB without looking into the merits of a person. If a person doesn't have merit, if a person doesn't have intelligence, basic intelligence, then he shouldn't be appointed in JJB. Being a member of JJB doesn't mean that you can pass any order and people will gulp it down. Action should be taken against these people, and it should be a message to all the JJB members throughout the country that this type of approach, where the parents of the boy, they are throwing money here and there, they can get away with it, and JJB and bring a bad name to JJB. JJB has not been formed for this purpose. The purpose was different. Reformatory process was there. But not in such cases where two IT professionals have been killed. The way this accident happened, the right section is 304. For Pune Police, after a day or two, then they started taking the right action in the matter. And the Commissioner of Women and Child Welfare, I think on the basis of inquiry report, drastic action is required against such a man.
Mr. Jain, and please stay on with us. Aditya Pratap, I'll come to you shortly. I'm also being quickly joined by my colleague Nilesh, who of course spoke to the Maharashtra Women and Child Development Ministry panel, which has of course conducted this investigation in the case. Nilesh, if you can hear me, take us through what your sources have been telling you in terms of what are the key lapses that have been uncovered in terms of how the JJB approached this case.
Well, absolutely. There have been numerous instances, for example, given which states that there has been unprofessionalism and unlawful activities which have been taken place in the JJB court or in JJB premises. For example, highlighting the issue, our sources revealed to us that the punishment of essay writing, which was pronounced by the non-judicial member of the JJB, is usually done after the minor is sent into observational custody. However, in this particular case, it was pronounced on the very similar day the minor was presented before court. Meanwhile, also our sources revealed that at first, since it is constituting of 3 members, that is a full bench which sits from Monday to Friday. However, it being a weekend, there was only one non-judicial member who was looking into this case. A roster needs to be prepared, and the name of that member should be put up on board for other people to understand who exactly is hearing the case or pronouncing the case. But in this particular order, there was no roster which was prepared, which is in itself an illegal act. Most importantly, it was highlighted by the 5-member committee that the medical reports, the blood tests reports and the FIR's modification, which was later done by Pune Police, was also overlooked, which showed or is a perfect example of ignorance and unprofessionalism, which was showed by the non-judicial member, and hence this five-member committee have put up a 125-pager report, which is claiming would be costing termination of these two non-judicial members. Meanwhile, the committee has also suggested various measures which needs to be taken for near future. For example, a proper training module is being prepared for future JJB members, and our sources also revealed that these JJB members lack basic knowledge of legal terms, and basic professionalism is what have been lacking into this
It's absolutely
case,
shocking, Nilesh. How
this
can...
is what has turned...
Absolutely shocking, Nilesh. Thanks for joining us with those updates. How do members of a Juvenile Justice Board who are in charge of ensuring that the law is upheld and, more importantly, imbibed in young people who are seen on the wrong side of the law, how are they lacking in terms of basic legal knowledge and clauses which need to be applied here? Aditya Pratap, come in here at this point. When we go through these lapses, which my colleague Nilesh has pointed out, it indicates that there was a sense of ad hocness that was there in the constitution and the working of Juvenile Justice Board, especially the board which is sitting in this case in Pune. Now, my question is this by sheer negligence? Is this just one Juvenile Justice Board whose lapses were uncovered? Or is it by design to ensure that the system is deliberately loose, there is enough flexibility and enough leeway within the system to allow loopholes for people such as these, the rich and mighty brats of realty builders, to get away by breaking the law?
Well, when you look at, I'll tell you from my personal experience also that several times, even in one of my cases involving Juvenile Justice Board of Bombay, the order was set aside only because one required member was not there. So in terms of sittings also, because a lot of the judges, they may be used to sitting in single capacity, Juvenile Justice Board is one of the few courts at the lower level where a board has to sit and not a judge in single capacity. So on this point, lapses do tend to occur. Now, we must note that under the Juvenile Justice Act, the Juvenile Justice Board is headed by a member it is headed by an officer having the rank of Metropolitan Magistrate. And usually any officer who has the rank of Metropolitan Magistrate, any judge, he knows procedure very well. So there is a possibility that due to inadvertence, the board was not there, the members are not there. But yes, the officers who sit, especially because it is the judicial member who's managing the whole thing, and he knows procedures very well. So I do feel that it could probably be, I don't want to levy any allegations of the court as such, but in my personal experience, there have been cases where orders have been set aside because the required quorum was not there. But judges, because all judges who sit to administer the Juvenile Justice Act, they are presumed to know the provisions of the Act very well.
So my question is this a systemic rot that has now been uncovered? Because, and probably Mr. Jain can back me up on this, what has happened in this case is that after the first 24 hours, there has been quite an unusual and welcome proclivity by the Pune Police to actually get to the bottom of this matter at this point, after the usual 24 hours of negligence that allowed the boy to get away in the first place. If we have to apply the same level of scrutiny to the function of the juvenile justice boards across the country, do you feel, Aditya Pratap, that we'll uncover more such cases of systemic lapses being involved in the functioning and the constitution of these boards?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, at the lower level, there remains a lot to be desired. Many a time I've seen that the boards usually they do not appreciate the character of the law well. Even in a non-sensational case like in which I've appeared, it appears that the learned member of the Juvenile Justice Board, in my opinion, it's my personal opinion, did not probably appreciate that the act was instituted to curb juvenile delinquency and not in a way to extend to roll out a red carpet for juvenile delinquents. So in my personal opinion, in many cases, probably the learned members do not appreciate the intent behind drafting the Juvenile Justice Act. Remember, let us not forget that the current Juvenile Justice Act was passed in the aftermath of Nirbhaya, when we saw what dastardly deeds young delinquents were
Yes.
capable of doing. And the purpose of and there's a straight principle: spare the rod and spare the rod and spoil the child. However, the many judges of their own accord tend to presume that the purpose of the law is to be very considerate to the child, afford him every opportunity, without realizing that the purpose of the act is to curb the incidence of rising juvenile delinquency. So, on the fact of procedure, usually judges tend to know procedures very well, but it appears that and of course, when we look at the Pune hit and run case, it defies all expectations. In fact,
Yeah.
the Pune hit and run case is more than a symptom. It's actually one can say, a grave indicator, effectively, of what is going on.
Absolutely. And I'll bring in Arvind Kumar Jain at this point, sir. When you take into account the larger rod that has been uncovered in terms of what happened in the local police station with pizzas and burgers being fed to the boy, in terms of what happened in Sassoon Hospital, in terms of his blood test samples being exchanged here, it paints a very disturbing picture that those who are rich and powerful, they can get the police to bow down to them, they can get the the medical system to bow down on them, and they can also get the justice system to bow down on them, as long as they have the support of powerful politicians.
It has brought a very bad name to the police force, to the police of Pune also.
Yes,
Local
absolutely.
MLA was supporting the builder and his family. His son was also there in the car with the boy when the accident took place. So we should all learn a lesson from this, that now people are not prepared in 21st century to gulp down such incidents. That's why there was a national outcry after the incident, and only after there was an outcry, Pune Police swung into action. Police Commissioner Pune has taken some positive steps. The parents of the child, they are still behind bars. Action has been taken against the grandfather also, who's said to be involved with mafias. So I think that's why upbringing has been of the child in such circumstances that he has also become of criminal bent of mind. So proper action has been taken now by Pune Police, and I think there are instructions also from the Chief Minister, from Home Minister. Home Minister Fadnavis also passed instructions in this because Pune Police really has earned a very bad name after this incident. 2 IT professionals have been killed, and they belong to other states. They had come to Pune for jobs, and this is what they have got. So all the police forces, they should learn a lesson from this. And I have never seen such incidents might be happening, but I have never seen this such blatant negligence and criminality. Blood sample is being changed. A mother is giving the blood sample in place of that boy, and that is being accepted.
And that's my point, sir. And
yeah.
that's precisely my point, Arvind Kumar Jain. If such a massive cover-up happens on so many different levels, this is a well-oiled machinery that's at play. It is not the first time all these things have just fallen into place at so many levels to allow one powerful brat to go. This is a system that's in play, and there's a system which is designed and is very well-oiled. I keep repeating the word. It's very well-oiled and very polished in place in order to ensure that, okay, if you have the money, if you have the influence, we have these options at our disposal to help you get away, whether it be the Juvenile Justice Board, whether it be the police, whether it be Sassoon Hospital at this point. But anyway, thank you so much, Arvind Kumar Jain ji, and also Aditya Pratap, for joining us for this short debate at 1:30 p.m.